So 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, takes away probably 2 runs there defensively. That's 5 runs he's involved in. Matt Chapman.
Olsen skies one high and deep to right field toward the corner. Adele onto the track near the wall, leaps up and got it. Makes the catch for out number 3. Olsen. On he goes. Which is hit out towards center field. That's smoke. That is going to be into the bushes. A 2-run home run for McCutcheon. And the Phillies take a 2-0 lead.
Here's another 3-2 going again as Soto hits one high in the air, right center field. Brinson near the wall, leaps, and he makes the catch! Lewis Brinson makes an unbelievable catch over the wall in center field.
Welcome in to an all-new edition of Belly Up Fantasy Baseball Live, presented by True Classic T-Shirts. That's right, True Classic is the new sponsor of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Network, and let us tell you about them. Butter soft, affordable, high-quality fitted premium tees for men, super versatile shirts. They can be worn on any occasion, including date nights, chilling at home, or athletic events. And if you go to trueclassictees.com and use the code BELLYUPFANTASY at checkout, you get 25% off your purchase. So use the code BELLYUPFANTASY at trueclassictees.com. Welcome into the show. We're starting off with the power. We'll be adding some designated hitters in later into the show, but I am Vince Stover from the Sports Stove Podcast, and I am joined to start off the show by Nick Flanders from TSS Fantasy. Nick, how you doing?
I am doing very, very well. Yes, I am Nick Macaronis. I am Nick at Penn Flanders. You can find me on Twitter, which we'll get into much, much later in the show.
much later. Good to have you, Nick, and thank you for showing up for the show tonight. And
that's what I do.
Our normal host is running late tonight, but he will be with us later on in the program, and we'll be excited to have him back in. This is our first show since the trade deadline has passed, so we're going to talk some MLB trades, and I want us to start with the obvious, I think the obvious starting point, and that is the San Diego Padres. They added the biggest piece in the trade deadline. Of course, we're talking about Brandon Drury from the Cincinnati Reds, but no,
totally
I'm kidding. They get Juan Soto, they get Josh Bell, they get Josh Hader, they do get Drury as well, and they really didn't have to give up much of anything as far as pieces for this year to acquire these guys. So let's just start with your general thoughts on the big day for San Diego.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were talking pre-show, and the teams that didn't do anything at the trade deadline or didn't do anything significant, they really lost, because I'll tell you what, and I'm talking about the California team a little bit up north, up the California Turnpike, because I'll tell you what, the Padres, I think, are tired of being the little brother, and they finally decided, you know what, we're going to do something about it. They got two of the best hitters, I'd say, that could solidify their lineup that they could possibly get. They're lucky, or they're fortunate rather, that the MLB does not have a salary cap, which, myself and others have been screaming for decades. But, of course, Major League Baseball, they're always the last of the party for everything. So they go out and get Juan Soto, who's been described as a generational talent. And then they go out and they get Josh Bell to solidify that lineup. Now, when he comes back, you got to deal with Tatis, Machado, Soto, and Bell, and they got their role players in there as well, and of course, don't forget about their pitching. Clevenger's he's finally coming back to form. You got Mana as well, so they're going to be forced to be reckoned with, and I really wish they didn't do that, because they're tied with my Phillies, who right now believe it or not, they're the hottest team in baseball at 9-1. I looked it all up and down. They got the hottest record in the last 10 games for all Major League Baseball. They're going to be a thorn in the side of the wild card teams. So great job with them. Great job.
Yeah, and they're not going to win the division still.
No.
The Dodgers still win the division, but San Diego is not a team you want to see when you get to the playoffs, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like you said, they added Soto and Bell. They gave up in that trade Luke Voit, Mackenzie Gore, the two current guys that they gave up. Then, of course, the prospect C.J. Abrams was the big one, but that doesn't hurt them for this year.
No.
When you're sitting there with guys like Tatis and you're at shortstop or can play shortstop at least for them, and they've been doing really solid with the guys they've got in there this year in the absence there as well. They also get rid of Eric Hosmer, sending him to Boston. And
he was slick.
Yeah, he was right.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
let's talk about that. He goes, you know what? I'm going to invoke my no trade clause because I ain't going to Washington. Get me anywhere but Washington. He goes, how about Boston? Okay. So he goes with the ball. That was a slick move by him. I like that. That move.
It was a fair move, right? I mean, he didn't have. I think he had 12 teams on his no trade list, and he did that on purpose when he got the contract. So he knew he didn't want to go there for a while now. And some people were like, "Oh, you're take one for the team." No,
what team?
They're trading you. You're not taking one for the team.
There is no loyalty in pro sports. I don't know who thinks that there is anymore, but there isn't any.
Right. Yeah. So Hosmer heads off to Boston. They get 2 prospects and cash. They send 2 prospects in cash to receive Jay Groom, a left-handed pitcher. So really giving them up for pretty much nothing. You mentioned the Dodgers earlier. They went out and acquired Joey Gallo. Gallo, he doesn't have to play every day. Maybe he can find his groove again there, playing more of a DH role kind of here and there for the Dodgers.
Yep.
All right. This is good back and forth. No.
Okay, so you said Voit. I'm sorry. So Voigt's been, I don't know, to me, he's been kind of a disappointment ever since he left New York. He hasn't been really hitting the ball too well. I think during the shortened season anyway, he was MLB's home run leader, but I mean, you can kind of throw that out. But his power, I'm sorry, could you read me his numbers one more time?
I do not have his number. Sorry.
Okay. So I think his numbers are down. I don't think he's going to be there long term. I think he's just gonna be there this year. Not sure what his contract is. We should know what it is, but I think at the season, if he's available to exit, I think he's going to, because number one, he's too old. You're not going to build around him. And they're retooling. So I don't think he's going to be in their long-term plans anyhow. So he will be moved. Right now, he is literally trying out for other ball clubs right now that wants to pick up his contract. And at least that's in my estimation. Vince, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's probably true. I would agree with that. Let's talk about your Phillies a little bit. They go out and get a couple pitchers. One of them is a starting pitcher, Noah Syndergaard. Obviously, he had a very successful past and has been okay this year when he's been able to pitch this year as well. We knew that, and we talked about this in the last episode, that the Phillies needed pitching help, and they get him. They also add to the bullpen, too. How did you think the Phillies fared on trade deadline day?
I think they actually helped themselves after the deadline by releasing 2 players. And I'll get into that in a moment. With Noah Syndergaard right now, he's come back from injury, and right now he's going to be a rental because he didn't sign an extension. So he's going to be he will be a starter, but he's not going to be one to be. We have to count this guy has to get us through to the playoffs, because today Nola pitched an outstanding game today, albeit against Washington. Wheeler's hot right now. I like Ranger Suarez, and right now I think Syndergaard is just there to buy time to get Eflin back up on the mound. And if he wins and if he performs well, it's a bonus. It's literally a bonus. Brad Marsh, kind of scratching my head at that one. They got him on the cheap. He's only got what, nine home runs. He's there to solidify defense. That's why they got him. They got him for his glove, not for his stick. Like I said, they got better afterwards when they released Odubel, Herrera, and they got rid of Didi Gregorius. I said on a couple shows ago, Didi's not going to be there after the season. I didn't think that they cut him during the season because I just said he is declining. And number one, he's not Rob Thompson's guy. He was Girardi's guy. So when you're not performing well and you're not the current regime's pick, you're gone. So, and that's true of any organization, whether it's sports or it's corporate. If corporate, if the powers that be didn't pick you and you're not doing well, you're out of there.
Yeah, and one of the reasons Herrera's gone is they bring in David Robertson from the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
Pick that up.
Yeah, I forgot to mention him, and that's gonna bite into Sir Anthony Dominguez's role too, because lately Dominguez was the closer. Now he's gonna be your 7th, 8th inning guy, and he's gonna be your setup man, and that's gonna factor into your fantasy stats if you have him, because if you were counting on him to be a closer, well, guess what? That's not going to be there anymore. So unless Robertson is unavailable or is not needed, that's when Dominguez will get your save opportunities, if there is one. Like if today over the series they outscored Washington 32 to 30. Yeah, it was 32 to 14, and out homered them 14-1. So unless you're hitting the ball off. Unless you're hitting the cover off the ball like that, you're not going to have a lot of save opportunities, even for Robertson.
Yeah, that's true. Twins made some moves. There was Toronto made some moves. A lot of things that happen. I don't think we can get past, though, without talking about the Milwaukee Brewers and getting rid of Josh Hader. And, when they got back, it was okay. The Brewers, because they're cheap, they always have this mindset of the future. We can't ruin the future by going for it right now. Now, as a fan of the Brewers, I would like for them to win a World Series, and I would be okay with them winning a World Series now and then stinking in 2 years for a few years. But Stearns says he's not going to do that, and so they go out, they trade Josh Hader, they get back Taylor Rogers, which is a decent get. They get 2 prospects that are supposed to be good. The other pitcher they got, they've already DFA'd, so he's gone in that trade. But they go out and they get other pieces too. They got Matt Bush from Texas. So they did a lot with the pitching side of things. Losing Josh Hader, let me start with this. I didn't mind the trade because of Devin Williams already being there, Boxberger pitching well this season, and bringing in Rogers as well. I thought that was fine. What I didn't realize was how bad it was going to affect the locker room. Josh Hader was well-loved. I knew that. But it really seemed like it took the Brewers by surprise, hit them in the gut. They got swept by the Pirates, struggled against the Reds. And it's not because they don't have talent. It's because I think they were just so taken back by this trade because they want to win a World Series now, and Josh Hader is the best closer in the league right now as well. So Hader goes to San Diego. Milwaukee, again, I don't think they got worse necessarily in the trade, but I think it really affected the team. What was your initial thought when you saw the Hader trade?
I was surprised because I knew he was struggling, but I didn't think, like you said, if he's the best closer in the game, that you're going to get rid of him. Yeah. Did they do that to send a message? Or they do? Well, you said because they're cheap, and we had discussed his contract right before the show. He was only on a 1-year, $11 million deal. So yeah, I don't, and I guess
is they're not going to pay him. They're not going to pay him.
So I don't know. Yeah, go ahead. So I don't know if they were going to. I don't know if they were in contract negotiations and if they broke down, or they just said, "Look, we know we're not going to extend you. We're cheap, and you brought up a future. Don't mortgage the farm for a World Series now for the future." Last time I checked, they don't have much of a future because they haven't really done anything. And I'm not trying to be malicious about it, but if you say, we're not going to spend all this money just to buy a championship and then stink in a few years, it doesn't work. I mean, nobody wants to be the Marlins, but at the same time, you do want to have some brass in your closet. So, the Phillies did it. The Phillies, they went for it all, and they won it in 08, got back in 09, got swept by they got a gentleman's sweep by the Yankees, and then the cupboard was bare in the minor leagues for at least 5 years, and that's what happens. But what do you have to show for it? You got a World Series. So, not every team can be the Yankees. Not every team can be the Dodgers, where it's perennial, we're there all the time. So you have to take your opportunity when it's available and go get it, and then pay your dividends later.
Yeah, I think back, several years ago, they brought in CC Sabathia for a year, made a run. It didn't work out. And so CC Sabathia left. Then just maybe 3 years ago, they were within a game of the World Series, lost in Game 7 to the Dodgers. They've been close. They've got some incredible talent on the team right now. They got to find something to put them over the edge versus trying to sustain them for years to come. I understand, especially in a small market, you can't stink. That's just not, it doesn't work. You got to be able to put fans in the seats. So you have to be decent, but think about, a World Series, what that would mean to Milwaukee. They just celebrated a team, that 40 years ago didn't win the World Series. And they just brought them back, celebrated the team, phenomenal team, the Harvey Wallbangers, great stuff. But if that team meant so much to the city, how much more would a World Series winning team bring to the city? And I think that they have to be careful with this. Well, we're trying to have sustained success, and at the same time sacrificing maybe their best piece. Although I would argue that Woodruff and Burns are probably more important than Hader, especially because they had some depth in the bullpen. But that's a pretty tough one to experience. And as a Brewers fan, man, it just absolutely hurt to watch how that goes. There's our man Dan. Brewers aren't better than the Dodgers, Padres, Mets, or Braves, but if not now, when to go all in? Pitching wins October. 100% agree. What do you think?
Yeah. Pitching. Look at the Braves model for those 90s teams. They were all about pitching. They got the top 5 pitchers in the game. Now they only got one World Series to show for it, but they went there. They got one. So you have to, like I said, you have to have success to build success. If you're never used to winning, you're not going to win. You're always going to have that defeatist mindset of, we're this team, we're that team, and we always get so far, and then it peters out at the end. Well, if they keep thinking that way, they're going to be Baltimore. They're going to be Pittsburgh. They're going to be, look at the Cubs. The Cubs went all in. They sucked for 100 and some odd years. They won one, and now their fans can say, well, at least we got one. Every team in every – there's a few teams in every sport that can say that. Look at basketball. Look at the Cavs. Whenever LeBron went back, they're terrible now, but say, hey, we got one. Look at my team, the Eagles. We were terrible forever, and then we're up in the stands. Like, hey, remember that year in 2018? So you got to keep the fans' morale involved too. And when, like you said, when you're in a small market team, and when you don't have a lot of major stars, your number one resource is your team, and you have to keep up their morale to go into the game and say, "Hey, we can win this," rather than, what time is it? Yeah, let's go. I have a tee off here. So that's your best resource is your players.
The Cubs always said maybe next year until they won one. Now they're saying, "Hey, don't forget, just a couple of years ago, we won it all."
Correct, but they got one, right?
They do have
one. They got one.
They got one. Let's talk winners and losers from the trade deadline. I think San Diego is an obvious winner. Where do you go with winners and losers for the trade deadline?
Let's talk about the evil empire. Let's talk about the Yankees. Right now, they made a move. They got Frankie Montas, who's going to solidify that rotation. They got Benintendi. That's going to solidify the glove in the outfield. So, and they got rid of Jordan Montgomery, and then he pitches against them. And then I saw I saw a piece that he was doing. I don't know how they're going to do. How they're going to feel against me. Some might say hi, some might say good riddance, but the Yankees always win. Even when they lose, they still win. So again, I think they did a real good job, and they got Scott Efros as well. And I said in the beginning of the season, it's going to be LA, it's going to be New York in the World Series, and look who we're talking about today.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of winners and losers,
yay! We got a winner. Winner, chicken dinner.
Our usual host, Kevin Wilson, joins the show already in progress. Hey, Kevin, we're talking about winners and losers of the trade deadline.
Okay.
And so far, we've got the Yankees and the Padres. We've got a comment from YouTube. Joel says, Rockies, definitely. That's all caps. Losers. All right, so let's get our thoughts from Kevin on who you got as winners and losers for fantasy. Or not fantasy, for the trade deadline.
Oh, I know where he's going.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, you would certainly think that when all these trades were made that the Padres were, in fact, winners. But the Dodgers have made that seem like that would not be the case. Because they beat them just like they have always have. And so we've got some things they're still the little brothers to the Dodgers. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Dodger guy, because that's just universally and has always been accurate. And so they needed to show up a little bit better. I know they're playing right now, but the Dodgers beat them in the first 2 games of that series. And so you got to throw a little shade on the Padres being the ultimate winners of this. And then that you would think the Yankees were the winners, but they just got swept by the Cardinals. So that throws a little shade into that as well. And so you have to put them up there as winners, but they're going to have to, especially the Padres. The Yankees, we know what they are, but the Padres haven't proven anything yet.
How about this for a team that lost the trade deadline? The Baltimore Orioles. They're making a run. They're actually in the hunt for the wild card, and they get rid of a couple pitchers. And
I don't understand what they were doing at all, Vince.
That they basically just said, since we're not going to win the World Series this year, we're going to go ahead and punt, which blows my mind when they're actually in the wild card race. Very sad.
They're only a game back entering play today.
Yeah.
And not only the pitchers, they gave away Trey Mancini as well.
Yeah.
And all he's done is hit, what is it? I wrote it down. I think he's hit 3 home runs since he's joined the Astros.
His first 3 at-bats, yeah.
So
that's it.
3 home runs, including a grand slam.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's how you just say, hey, everybody, my name's Trey. And so, I'm along for the ride here. And
see if he's got a buzzer in his sleeve somewhere.
Maybe so. Maybe he's already indoctrinated.
Nick, who are some losers of the trade deadline?
Well, before we get to that, I thought Kevin was going to say Seattle was a winner by getting Castillo. I thought he was going to really pounce on that one. Kevin, you want to speak about that for a minute?
Well, as you can see, Luis Castillo made his first start against who? The Yankees. And he went out there and he won. And so you have to I'm a little off. There we go. Now I'm a little center. So you have to because he's a good pitcher, and he was pitching well on a team that was terrible, and he was pitching well in a stadium that's one of the ultimate hitting stadiums in all of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And so he went from that situation to a team that's as hungry to make the playoffs as may ever have been, because they haven't made the playoffs. They're out of all the teams maybe in the world, they have not made the playoffs the longest. And so you definitely have to put them down as being winners in this trade scenario.
Okay. So we could talk about the other crosstown New York team, as in the Mets. They could have went out and they could have got everybody and their brother that they wanted to do, because again, Steve Cohen's got all the money in the world. They could have had Mancini, they could have got Soto, they could have got Bell, but they went out and they got Michael Gibbons. Now, Michael Gibbons, he's having a decent season this year. He's 6-2, but right now he's going to be their setup man. What they're projecting him to be, and he's got 2 saves, but he's got 3.74 ERA. So again, we talked about earlier in the season how there's a point in every season where the Mets start that downward spiral. And this could be it,
Nick, because they're beating the Braves 4 out of 5 games.
But they could have put a stranglehold on the division by getting a top-notch free agent, and they didn't. So they might looked at the roster and said, "Look, I know we got one of the highest payrolls, if not the highest payroll in baseball. I don't want to pay any more luxury tax. I think we got the guys that can get us through there. But if you have a chance to put a stranglehold on the division and go run away and hide, why wouldn't you do that? Because the Braves are going to come out of nowhere. I know they just, like you said, their record, they just swept them, or they just took 2 out of 3.
It's 4 out of 5.
Why wouldn't you? I'm sorry, 4 out of 5. Why wouldn't you put that to bed?
I mean, if you win 4 out of 5, you pretty much did put it to bed. As bad as you could get it.
My argument
during the season.
Yeah, my argument would be kind of what we're talking about with the Brewers. They did kind of the anti-Brewer thing. They didn't go out and get a superstar, but they also didn't get rid of anybody either. You look at their team, you got Lindor, Alonso, Nemo, Marte, Escobar, McNeil, Canna, and out of those guys, only one batter is under 225, under 250 for that matter, in batting average. They're hitting the ball fine. Pitching staff is just getting healthy with DeGrom coming back. I actually think that the Mets did the right thing by not losing pieces and kind of staying steady, because not only have they stayed consistently on top of the division, and right now I think they're 6.5 up on Atlanta, but they're actually getting healthy. And I think that they may look at it, and I could be wrong, but I think they may look at it and go, hey, we've got a good thing going here. Let's not mess it up. Let's not add new pieces to the locker room. Let's take what we have and run with it. I think they did a good job in the offseason adding Bassett, adding Scherzer, that they said, we made our moves already, and now we're going to roll through with what we got.
Well, don't forget that they went out and got Tyler Nagan, and all he did was hit 2 home runs Thursday against the Braves.
So, yeah, but I'm not going to say that's a big win.
No, it is.
They had an opportunity
to have.
Yeah, guys, I can't believe I'm defending the Mets, but they had an opportunity to go and solidify their porous catching and DH spots, and they didn't do that. Why wouldn't you do that?
What catcher did they need to go get?
They could have gotten called up Texas and could have got Heim.
Yeah.
They could have got.
The Rangers weren't going to trade him. He's a good catcher. He's been a good catcher this year. So why would the Rangers
give him? Because first of all, because the Rangers aren't going anywhere. I don't know what their farm system looks like, but they're not going anywhere. So you might as well get some value out of him now, because again, they're not winning it this year, and they probably won't win it for the next 3 years. So get something to put them in position to do that. That's what I'm saying.
They did go get Ruff from San Francisco. That's going to fill that DH role a little bit for him as well. Again, not a superstar move, not something that's going to knock it out of the park, but it's the small moves to add to an already solid roster. The Soto thing's interesting. I think San Diego did the right thing because they didn't have to give up anything for this year, to get Soto. Now, I don't know what the Mets had to offer. I don't know if they had to give up things from this year in order to get Soto, those kinds of things. Well, yeah, money's important, but you got to give. I mean, they sent back.
Yeah, you got players
in the league and the CJ Abrams, and they, so I mean, there were pieces that went back to Nationals, and I'm not sure. And who knows? Maybe the Nationals don't want to send them to the Mets at the same time.
I'm sure that's not something that they were savoring over, sending him so that he could face them.
Yeah, in the divisions, probably not
19 times a year or whatever the number is when they play. What is it? 17, 18, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to face him that many times. He's only 23. He'll torture him for 15 years.
Oh,
So they
man.
sent him clear across the country. The only thing they could have done maybe better is to send him to the American League. Then they wouldn't have to see him maybe every 3 years or so.
Yeah. Well, that's a fun conversation. Let's talk about some things real quick, though, before we get to our fantasy talk. We do have to talk NL East. We talked about it briefly here, talking about the Mets and the Braves and their battle. And, of course, the Braves, they have not been able to catch the Mets. And at this point, we talked about it a while back now. And I said, I think I'm going to stick with the Mets just because they're getting healthy. And right now, it just seems like the Mets have a hold of that division. Now, Nick, you said they should have done something to tie it down, but are you really confident that Atlanta's going to catch New York?
Only because I've seen what the Mets are. They fall apart. They fall apart when it counts the most. So I go with numbers. I go with your past history pretty much dictates your future history in most cases. So I'm going to say yes. Now,
Green, right? He says they are who we thought they were.
They said they are. Right. Now, I could be a homer and say, oh, well, Philly's holding it down. They're 9-1 in the last 10, coming off that sweep off Chicago. And when they get Harper back, it's off to the races. Well, I'm going to hold off on that horse. They will make playoffs, but they won't win the division. I mean, they're only 3 games out. I'm sorry, 9.5
playoffs. Who are they pushing out of the picture, Nick?
That's what I was going to ask. Are they going to catch the Braves, or are you going to have 3 East teams in the playoffs?
I think they're going to push St. Louis out. I think St. Louis is going to fall apart.
Okay, Kevin, give us your thoughts on the NL East.
Well, I know what Nick's talking about, and it's been traditional since going back since they won in 86 and all that
86.
stuff. But yeah, and they've collapsed and everything else. But they have shown, especially you don't want to make too much out of a series in August, but to win 4 out of 5 from the Braves when they're the teams that know how to win, and they did what they had to do. And so they've got DeGrom, they've got Scherzer now. And so if you need to face those 2 guys in a series, you're already at a disadvantage. And so I think right now, as they're currently constructed, they might – I want to say they're with the Dodgers because nobody is at this point in time. But they're right behind them. Yeah. And so I think the Mets – despite what they've done in the past, this is their year, and I think they're going to win a division, and they're going to lock down the number 2 seed and be sitting at home in the first round of the playoffs.
So you think they're going to go wire to wire?
Wire to wire. That's only been done 1 or 2 times ever, but the Braves they're not the Braves. Remember last year. This is where they started their run.
Yeah.
And they just have not done that. And so you got to like what the Mets are doing.
Atlanta made some moves.
They made some moves, but they haven't paid off.
Yeah, well, you got to give it a little bit of time. But, yeah, I agree. Now, Nick, you said that Philadelphia catch St. Louis. Well, St. Louis is 2 games up in Milwaukee. So maybe let's talk about the NL Central. Who's going to win the NL Central?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
you're the expert, Vince. And I haven't heard what you had to say, Vince. Maybe you talked about this before I got on, about the Josh Hader scenario. And
yeah, I'm not going to repeat myself on that. You'll have to go back and listen to the first half.
Okay, I'll do that.
But I'll tell you that.
Did you? Who's the closer, Vince? Is it Williams?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be Rogers?
It's Devin Williams.
Devin Williams. Okay, I agree with that, and I think that they weaken their team.
One of the things Craig Counsell said he was going to do as the season progressed was actually be able to play matchups. So Devin Williams is going to get the majority of the save opportunities, but they are going to let Rogers get some save opportunities as well. And honestly, Bush might even get some save opportunities coming in from Texas also. So they feel like they actually got deeper. They lose Hader, which is but they feel like they got much deeper with adding the guys that they added as well. And I agree with that. I think that they get things going again. The offense has actually been decent here in the Pittsburgh series and the Cincinnati series. It's just the pitching is let them down. So
your boy Yelich, if he's not getting thrown out of a game, he's done really well.
It was one game. He's been thrown out twice all season. He'll be all right.
Okay, but aside from that, he's hitting the ball, right? And
he's not hitting home runs.
So I like what they're doing offensively. It just it scares me a little bit when you make a trade like this. I know Josh Hader, he had problems and all that, but he knows how to close.
Yeah,
he knows.
Yeah,
maybe better than anybody.
Yep.
And I think you weaken your team, and I'm struggling to understand it.
That's fair. We need to get to fantasy stuff, but let's quickly hit Los Angeles, San Diego. Me and Nick said earlier, San Diego's not going to catch LA for the division, but
zero chance of that happening. Zero.
But, Kevin, you, a Dodger fan, want to see San Diego in the playoffs?
Well, the Dodgers are not afraid of them. Okay. They're proving that this weekend.
Are you afraid as a fan, though?
No, because as I've mentioned before, the Padres, until they beat the Dodgers when it counts, they are the red-headed little brother that sits in the back of the room while the big grown-ups are in the living room, okay? Until they beat the Dodgers when it counts, that's just all there is to. I think the Padres are a very, very dangerous team, but they've got to beat the Dodgers. There's sometimes there's just an aura around a team, and they get started. I don't know what it is.
Come playoff time, Kevin, you're going to be facing a team that has Juan Soto, Josh Bell, Fernando Tatis, to go with Manny Machado, Profar, Cronenworth, and this is a team that's. I'm telling you, they are as deep as as Los Angeles, and their pitching staff. Darvish has pitched well this year.
I'm not putting all my eggs in Darvish's basket.
No. Musgrove is playing great. Manea's good.
Manea just got blowed up. He's on my fantasy team, so
one game.
That's not making me very happy at all.
All right, Nick.
Hey, Kevin. I'm sorry. You moved. What jersey are you wearing right now?
This is my Houston Astros Space City jersey. All right.
This guy.
He's got it all. Nick,
Astros,
I'm a baseball
Mariners.
Fan, all right.
Okay.
I'm a baseball fan, so I don't shy away from being a baseball fan. I've been down to Houston.
Hey.
I've been to the Mets. I've been to the Brewers. I've been to the Cubs.
That's great. Be quiet. We got to talk about fantasy.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead, Vin.
Get there. Nick,
go ahead.
A one-word answer. Nick, a one-word answer. In the playoffs, if they face, who wins, San Diego or Los Angeles?
I got to go with LA. I have to.
Kevin?
LA.
All right. I go San Diego. You remember this.
Okay. I'll remember it. And
whatever the day is today.
Yeah, because I called LA in New York in the World Series.
You have to remember that San Diego would have to play in the series before that, so they're going to be a little depleted on their pitching.
They're going to be fresh, so they're going to be in rhythm, so they're going to have everything flowing.
Okay. All
right, so we got that down. One last thing before we get – this actually covers into fantasy baseball as well, but we got to discuss Franmar Reyes, who everybody had as a top 5 DH going into the season.
You talk about a guy who has crash-landed like no one else in baseball this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
and he was, when the season began, he was their number 4 hitter.
Yes, and
was a loaded lineup, and now he's begging for a job.
I'm trying to see if I don't know if I still have this or not, but our preseason rankings, I don't have it on this device. Our preseason rankings, I'm pretty sure you, I, and Dan all had him top 2, top 3. He was at the top of all of our DH lists, right?
Right. And there was a good reason for that. And I'm glad I'm not one of the ones that drafted him. It's one of those things that's just luck. Because if he was there, you would have taken him. I would have taken him. Nick, you would have taken him.
I had him on my team for
you would have.
I think.
Okay.
I picked him up free agency.
I would have.
But he never turned it around, so I got rid of him, and now he's not even on a Major League Baseball team right now.
He will be. Someone's going to pick him up.
That's what I'm saying. He's out there with a sign. Please bring me home. You know,
will swing for food. We won't say we'll hit for food, but he will swing.
You're evil.
That's right.
Oh man, goodness. Listen, we got a new sponsor. We talked about it at the beginning of the program. We're going to hear a quick word from our new sponsors. We have a commercial for you from True Classic Tees. When we come back, we're breaking down the ads and drops for fantasy baseball.
Support for today's episode comes from True Classic. This brand new sponsor has the absolute best fitting t-shirts a man can buy. Finding the right t-shirt with a little bit of a dad bod is incredibly frustrating. Most t-shirts are either too tight on your gut or look way too big and boxy. You're not in high school anymore, and it's time to upgrade. True Classic has already helped over 2 million men finally get a better fit at an affordable price. Our listeners get access to the best deal they offer. For a limited time only, get 20% off with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at TrueClassic.com. Almost all men's t-shirts are designed to look good on skinny models with six-packs, but most of us aren't packing anything but a few beers. Fellas, you are wearing the wrong clothes. True Classic tees taper off towards the bottom, but they fit tighter around the chest and shoulders. It's time to highlight your best attributes with a t-shirt you can always confidently throw on. True Classic doesn't just stop at tees. They are your one-stop shop for men's essentials. Super easy and simple to fill out your wardrobe. From polos and workout shirts with the same flattering fit to boxer briefs designed with a pouch to keep your bulge nice and comfortable. All their gear is top-notch quality at reasonable prices. It's about time you learn how to dress yourself properly. Upgrade your wardrobe with True Classic and get 25% off at TrueClassic.com with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. Free shipping included on purchases over $100 and 100% risk-free guarantee with a 30-day return policy. Stay classy with True Classic. Your dad bod will thank you.
True Classic Tees, the new sponsor of Belly Up Fantasy shows all throughout the Belly Up Fantasy world. Make sure you go visit them, trueclassictees.com. Use the code BellyUpFantasy. 25%. That's a lot off your first purchase.
Right. And I have to say, Vince, that I believe that there are some of those T-shirts waiting for me at my P.O. box. So the next time that we are on air, I will be able to give you a live report of just how great T-shirts are.
So if you're not wearing your new team of the month, you'll be wearing classic tees. So that's
absolutely.
Kevin, do you have a dad bod?
Let's just put it this way. These T-shirts are made to fit me. Okay.
Okay.
Just put it out to you like that.
All right, fantasy baseball. We're getting to it. We're 42 minutes in, but we're getting to it. Fantasy baseball right. On the Belly Up Fantasy.
So
Live.
Vince, I just wanted to mention about fantasy that the trade deadline in fantasy is coming up on August 19th. I don't know if you were aware of that. And I'm sure you are because you're the tradiest guy I know in fantasy. And so
tradiest is that a new word? Is that new word?
That word needs a trend right here. Tradiest.
Coin it right now. Coin.
Okay. So August 19th, noon Eastern time. So Vince, if you're looking to make trades,
Kevin, nobody will trade with me, man. I have tried everything. I have tried in our league. I have tried Mike Trout. I think I've sent an offer to every team with Mike Trout. Nobody wants him. My dad actually considered a trade. We talked it through on the phone a little bit, and he ended up still passing on it. So I've been working the phones trying to find something because I feel like Trout, especially coming into the playoffs, fantasy playoffs, has value. But I apparently am the only one who feels that way. So I will continue to send my offers until I'm no longer allowed to. But I got to tell you, I'm pretty happy with my team. Overall, I got a really solid crew. And I think if I make the playoffs, that's the big if right now, then I think I'll be a force to be reckoned with. But right now, Dan D'Amico, yourself, Kevin, my dad, and Timothy Farmer are the four in the playoffs in our league. and I am just behind my dad there. And I'm trying to look right now. I'm going to win this week. I got the bye week against.
But he lost
me.
this week, Vince, and you won.
You're
So
right.
you
Dad
pull
did
it to
beat
a tie with him, don't you?
That's right. Now he still beats me in the tiebreaker. So I got some work to do, but I got some time to get it done. So we'll make it happen.
Well, unfortunately for you, Vince, you know who you're taking on next week? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
That would be me.
Oh, so you're going to get one.
He set you up for that.
I appreciate
That's
that.
what I did. I teed that right up for him, didn't I, Nick?
Well, I'm not going to lie. On live television, we got millions of people watching through Belly Up TV.
That's right.
We got people watching through YouTube. We got people watching Facebook. People watching Twitter. People are going to listen later on this. I'm not a lie.
Absolutely, they are.
I don't pay attention to who I'm playing because I just worry about myself. I try to put the right people on the field to make things happen.
That's always a good philosophy. It's just too bad that Dan is not here today because I could crow a little bit because I'm taking him down.
He was watching on YouTube earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he beat me earlier in the season, so this is my revenge right here.
Revenge week. Have either of you changed strategies from the beginning of the season to where you are right now on your fantasy teams?
That's an interesting question, Nick.
No. I try and get the most points available that I possibly can. I mean, what's the point of leaving points on the table? So again, even if I'm winning by a lot, I'm still going to try and go and get more because what's better than more? More. So it's like money. How much money do you need? More. How much is enough? More. So yeah, if you can put points on the board and run up the score, go. I mean, because there's going to be a time when you're not going to have it. So get it while it's good.
Yeah, I don't think that I've changed because I'm always turning, as you well know, because you see that my transaction tracker is way ahead of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always turning over the bottom of the roster. I'm looking for matchups. I'm looking for guys that I think that are going to score. Like tomorrow, they're only like 17. There's 7 games going on tomorrow, and so I was looking ahead to see what players I could put in, and maybe, well, they're only 16% owned or whatever, and the bottom of my roster is always getting turned over, and so you got to have to kind of, to me, those are the guys that you need to try, as Nick says, to get your points out of, because the other guys, Cease and guys like that, you could pretty much know what they're going to do, but you need that bottom of that roster to bring it up to the surface.
Yeah, the change that I've made is I went all in on pitchers. Kevin, you were already there. But I still have currently one bench guy as a batter, and then everybody else is pitchers. And I do rotate through that bottom of my pitchers, although I found some guys I've been pretty happy with. Guys like Cole Irvin from Oakland. Most people will go, he's from Oakland. They lose all the time. Yeah, but he puts points on the board. Those kinds of people. Cueto, another guy that has put points on the board as well.
Yeah, you scored on him, Vince. You did.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. And I continue to do that. I got another guy we'll talk about in just a minute. But let's get to our ads as we are about 12 minutes out from the end of the show. Who do we need to pick up this week? Let's start with Nick. Who do we need to add this week on our fantasy teams?
Okay, I don't even know why he's on the waiver wire, but lately, Reed Detmer's right now, and he's in ESPN leagues. He's 35%. Now, he was at 12.9. That's up 22 points. But in his last 7 games, he scored 49 points. Like, why? First of all, why was he on the bench to begin with? Why was he on waivers to begin with? Overall, I don't do math very well, but 193 minus 49.
I have the answer for you, Nick.
Okay, go ahead.
He got sent down to AAA earlier in the season.
That's a great answer. So now,
great answer. But since he's come back up,
good answer. Family Feud. So right now, So right now he is the hottest guy in ESPN leagues on pickups. As far as that, we discussed him last week, Kevin. Jose Miranda. Jose Miranda is still.
I've got him. Got him right here. I
had him I had him.
So don't
I
go
dropped
to the
him.
waiver wire, Vince, looking to pick him up because it's not going to work.
Okay.
He went from 15 to 36 in a week, 36%. And in his last 7 games, he scored 27 points with 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and
It should be much higher, Nick. Much higher.
yeah, and a 280 batting average. And in the interest of time, I will actually let the two of you speak.
All right, Kevin, who do we need to add this week?
All right, so that kind of works because I just dropped an article today about players that were left behind by the trades. All these guys, Soto and everybody else moving out. Well, there are players that have to take these guys' spot. And my article is live right now. And some of the guys that I talk about are Yadiel Hernandez from the Washington Nationals. He is a guy that's he's less than 10% owned. All these guys are less than 10% owned. And he's getting the at-bat. And he's 4.3% owned. Before Friday, he had hits in 10 straight, including 3 2-hit games. All right, so he's trying to be Soto when there isn't any anymore. And talk about Oakland, James Capra. I've got him. He's 4.6% owned now. He's at the top of the Oakland rotation. And since the start of July, he has a 1.89 ERA and a 1.05 WHIP. What more do you need to know? He's not going to get many wins in Oakland, of course, but he'll give you the quality starts from there. So let's hear what you have, Vince. I had other players, but I want to hear what you have.
Yeah, well, I got Cole Irvin. I've had him on my roster now for about 2 weeks. I think that I've had him consistently. I've traded him off and on throughout the season, dropped him, picked him up, but now I'm just held on to him. 38%, 38.2% owned, available in a lot of leagues. And then Spencer Watkins from Baltimore, another pitcher. He's 17.5% owned. And again, this team, I'm afraid Baltimore's going to go the wrong direction after the trade deadline, but this guy's put up some points in he's got plus 20 in 2 of his last 5, 18 in one of those starts. He got 7 in 2 of those starts, but they're all positive points. And you're talking about right now, you're kind of scraping the barrel in most leagues, looking for a guy to add for a week or something like that. Those kind of guys I think are worth it. Diaz from Houston, Aldemus Diaz, 18.3% owned. He can play every position, first, second, third, shortstop, and outfield. And he's putting up some points as well. So he's a guy that's worth adding if you're looking for somebody, especially multi-positional players. Let's talk drops. Kevin, let's start with you. Who do we need to get rid of this week?
All right. Well, we already talked about Franmar Reyes, so I won't beat a horse with that one. The Mets are doing everything right except for Eduardo Escobar. Okay. He's only hitting 220 with a 271 on base percentage. That is absolutely terrible. And he's 60% owns. He has 2 hits in August. That's all. And so we could do better than him. Catcher, Yasmani Grandal, he's 2 for his last 24. And so I know catchers and he has no RBIs and 1 run scored. So
catchers are killing us right now.
Catchers are absolutely hammering us. And you mentioned him last week, Vince, MJ Melendez.
Yep.
He's still very low rent, so go get him. Yep. And one last guy, I hate to bring him up, but it's Patrick Corbin of the Washington Nationals. This guy's given up 4.55, 6, 4, 6 in his last 6 starts, has a 7.03 ERA. Put him to bed, all right?
It's hope is gone with Patrick.
No, hope has been gone for quite some time.
Yeah.
And he needs to go. Okay. Yeah. So I'm out with that.
All right, Nick, who do we need to let go of this week?
Oh, well, I dropped 2 guys. One guy, 2 that I picked up that I liked. I'm not going to go over their stats because in just of time. Picked up Gorman from St. Louis. He's doing well for me. And then I picked up your catcher from the Astros, Kevin. What's his name?
Vasquez.
They traded for Vasquez. I know that. So you're going to have to be more specific.
Kevin, I set you up for this. Kevin, you're killing me, Smalls. All right. So I dropped. This guy's awful. Chad, I'm too cool to pitch cool. All right. I had him.
He needs to go, Nick.
I held him.
Nick.
Hey. I held on to him last week. This gentleman got minus 15 points last week. In the last 7 days,
That's brutal.
His ERA was 16.2, and his WHIP was 2.2. He only had 5 innings pitched. He went 0 for 1 with 4 Ks. So, and then he got me a minus 15 a game in his last 5 games. Minus 15, minus 11, minus 2, minus 1, minus 7, minus Chad Cool. Bam, out of there. Next guy.
About somebody needs to get sent to the farm. That's him right there.
This guy, Nick Pavetta. I'm telling you what. In the last 7 games, 7
it's
days.
It's been terrible. I've got him, Nick, and I'm holding on. I don't know why I'm holding on.
No wins, no losses, 5 strikeouts, and his line in the last 5 games is 6, a minus 5, 11, a minus 12, and a minus 7. Get rid of him.
Get rid of him. Kevin. I got 2 guys for you. Eddie Rosario, outfielder, Atlanta, not doing the trick. Needs to go. And this was a hard one for me to pull the trigger on, but I finally did it. Clay Holmes of the Yankees, negative double digits his last 2 outings. I think it was 16 and 15, negative 16, negative 15, something like that. Man, I grabbed him earlier in the season off of waivers. Did great for me for several weeks. He's still owned by 80-some% of teams, 88%, I think, of teams. He's just not on my team anymore. So Clay Holmes has told me he doesn't want to play for the Sports Stove anymore. And so we sent him.
So you granted him his wish and gave him his walking paper?
Yes, I let him go.
Okay.
We'll let him go.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Got to do it. All right, let's tell the fine people listening where they can find us at. Nick, let's start with you and tell us about TSS Fantasy and everything going on in your world.
Okay, so before I do that, I set up Kevin for the home run about the catcher. He didn't do it, so I'll throw it up and I'll hit it myself. The guy I picked up was Martin Maldonado. Go get him if you can. In his last 7 games, he's got 12 points. If you need a backup catcher, grab him.
Which nobody should need a backup catcher, Nick. Nobody.
If your catcher's off,
if
your catcher's off or hurt, you need a catcher. So anyway, yes, as I alluded to earlier, my name is Nick at Penn Flanders. You can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on at tssfantasy.com and tssfantasy.com on YouTube, and hit that subscribe button. And in the next 10 minutes, we're going to be giving away our chance to get your Leroy Butler jersey. We're going to announce the winner. So if you're watching, we take bids up to the next 2.5 minutes. So get in there.
Kevin, tell us about where we get your articles, where we find you.
All right. So on Twitter at Kevin62WILSEA, you definitely want to get over to the Belly Up Fantasy website, because I have not 1 but 2 articles, 2 this week on there. First, analyzing how the trades affect fantasy, and then the players that are left behind. They're both hot right now, so get over there. And as I said, Belly Up Fantasy website, and I'm pretty much going to be going into a free flow this week because I'm going to be on vacation. So check out those 2 articles. That's going to have to hold everybody for a while.
All right, I'm Vince.
Free flow or a free fall, whichever one comes first.
That's right.
I'm Vince Stover. You find me at Sports Stove on Twitter and Instagram. The Sports Stove Podcast. Dropping 2 episodes a week until September. We'll go to 3 episodes a week then. Me and my dad just started our NFL preview episodes. Dropped earlier today. We're covering the AFC and NFC East today. And we're also ranking our top 10 fantasy quarterbacks in this episode that we just dropped. We'll do running backs next week.
You definitely want to check that out, man.
Tight ends. Lots of fantasy football stuff going on here real soon from the Sports Stove. All right, gentlemen, thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this broadcast of Fantasy Baseball Live from Belly Up Sports. Have yourself a great evening and
a great week.
you get rid of those bad players on your team. Have a good one.
Yeah. Don't let it ruin your fantasy season.